Good morning, class. My name is Mr. Josie. I'm going to be your art teacher today, and I'm going to teach you about one of the most ancient and amazing, some say the most beautiful book ever written. One of the first books ever written and bound together. Do any of you know what that book might be called?
Book of Kells.
Please raise your hand first, and then, yep, and then I'll call on you. Book of Kells. Very good, Zion. Do you know where this book was made?
Ireland?
It was made in Ireland. Yes, it was made in Ireland about 1,500 years ago. And it was when the Irish were just learning to read and write. There was an explosion of creativity. They were, St. Patrick, some people came over and taught them to read, and they started copying out books and writing and making amazing designs. And they loved the shape of letters, so they started curving them around, making them into animals and things like that. So they learned to write, and they started copying out. St. Patrick brought them what they thought were some of the most important stories. And so they started copying these out. And do you know what they wrote them on? Do you know what the Book of Kells was written on? It was written on calf skin, because they didn't have any paper back then. So it was written, they had to get calf skin and tan it and get it ready, and it was called vellum. And then they painted on it, and they copied out these books, and they had to do it with feathers, and they say the work on it is so intricate that you almost have to look at it with a magnifying glass. Some people say it seems not even like the work of humans, but the work of angels, because they have, even today, we have no idea how they did it. So, I'm going to teach you a little bit about Book of Kells. I have a little YouTube presentation for you, and then you will be making some of your own Celtic knotwork. So I want you to think about, to the Irish, these were their most important stories and their most important symbols. And they made symbols of the things that were most important to them. So think about what your most important story is and your most important symbols. And we will be making some of these at the end. All right? Do you have any questions? Yes?
I would like to really make a Celtic scene.
Okay. We'll do that at the end. So here it is, a little explanation of the Book of Kells. We say an introduction to the most beautiful book in the world. Made about 1,500 years ago. This is the Book of Kells exhibit in Dublin, Ireland, where we got this book. Every year, 500,000 people pay to see the Book of Kells exhibit at Trinity College, Dublin, and to catch a glimpse of the book itself. They turn one page every day to show people. This is housed in the old library in Trinity. The Book of Kells is over 1,200 years old. This old library holds some of the most ancient books in it. We have been there in Dublin and seen some of these books. It is thought to have been started by Irish monks on the Scottish island of Iona. Started on the island of Iona, taken to Kells near Dublin. It is the transcription of the 4 Gospels by Irish monks who were considered the most talented scribes and illustrators in all of Europe. It is well regarded as a masterpiece and has been described as the most beautiful book in the world. The most remarkable artifact of medieval art. And indeed one of the first books, and the book that would turn darkness into light, because it illumined Ireland with knowledge. And then from there, it spread out in the rest of Europe. People brought this reading, this learning. So this is some of the examples of the illustrations. They did animals and knotwork. The book is celebrated for its ornate illustrations, minute detail, things wrapped inside each other. It's the first Celtic art ever made. It is so beloved that the story of the book was recently made into a beautiful Oscar-nominated animated feature film called The Secret of Kells. And this shows how St. Brendan and the Abbot of Iona started to make the book.
The Book of Kells. The Book of Kells.
The book, they saw such incredible detail and design they had never seen before. Animals intertwined, almost as if they were moving. It was like the first animation animation. It's like the first stained glass windows. It was amazing. Still today, we don't know how they did it. It's amazing it survived. They used colors they found from berries in the forest, and they all had natural things. They didn't have ink or paper like we had today. They had to find all natural things to make the paint and the colors. This is the Chi Rho page. It's a famous symbol called the Chi Rho. It seems to almost jump out at you. So this is the Chi Rho page here. And if you look at it with a magnifying glass, there's designs within designs. Everything wraps around. It's written, they had just learned to read, it's written in Latin. And it's just phenomenal. The page is illustrated with images of people and animals, including an otter with a fish, a peacock, and two mice fighting over the host while two cats watch. So it shows those two cats that were in that animation, The Secret of Kells. Folio 7 is the oldest surviving portrait of Virgin Mary and Christ Child in Western art ever. It's the oldest picture. This is some of the oldest surviving written art we have. It's considered to have been influenced by Oriental and Egyptian art. A recurring motif throughout the book is the use of illustrations that act as visual aids to guide the reader's eye to the page. A fine example of this motif is the 6 onlookers in the bottom right of this page. So when you look closely, you see not only is it a picture, but it's a picture within a picture. And here are 6 men who are sitting, looking towards the other picture to draw your eye towards that. It's another famous page. This page of the book shows the 4 evangelists and their symbols. Matthew the man, Mark the winged lion, John the eagle, and Luke the winged ox. And it was amazing. Before this, there had been any kind of artwork this intricate or this colorful. This sumptuously illustrated folio is my personal favorite. It's right at the beginning, so it has, if you look at it, you have pictures of people intertwined with letters and writing, with vines and all kinds of things. Sadly, 30 folios from the book have been lost over the year. 30 folios. But there are still 680 pages, which it's amazing that they survived. So here's another part from The Secret of Kells. This is the Vikings. Viking raids were what spurred the book's move from Iona to Kells. Then Kells, in turn, was sacked because the Vikings would take everything they could find. They took the jeweled cover. Thankfully, they left the pages, and that's what we've gathered together. So the jeweled cover that was supposed to be on it has still never been found. But the book was never fully completed. The Vikings raided the abbey at Kells repeatedly during this time, and how the book survived at all is unknown. Its bejeweled cover was never found. This is amazing. In the animation, they make it look just like the Book of Kells. This book was kept in Kells until 1654. In 1661, it was presented to Trinity College in Dublin to be protected. In the 1980s, a Swiss company created a limited number of replicas of it that even had little holes in it. One of these replicas is held at the University of British Columbia. So that's Brendan and Aidan who drew it, the cat who we see inside it, and they say they must have used some type of crystal as a magnifying glass to make such small illustrations. So for more information, you can go to the Book of Kells website, or for the replica, the University of British Columbia. So, I hope you see, students, how amazing and ancient this book is. One of the oldest books bound together, and some of the oldest Celtic art that we have seen. So I have a book here that we bought in Dublin that shows examples of it. So you can go through, get some of the ideas, eagles and things like that. You can imitate them. If you want, you can even trace them to start out with, to get some ideas from it, the knotwork, things like that. The ancient writing, the animals. So you can go through that first, share it around, each use it at a time. And then, as I said, think about your most important story, the story that's the most important to you. This was the story that taught the Irish that they might have life after death, they might live on, which was the most exciting thing to them. So you think about your most important story, your most important symbol. Look at some of these, and I have some handouts. Okay, I will hand these around, and this teaches you how to do the Celtic knotwork step by step. So I want you to get out a piece of paper to do them on. Take one of these, and I will come around and help you out. Thank you so much for being a most amazing class.
Can I have my chocolate things?